All right, kids, welcome to another edition of The Slate, which is most likely going to be the least viewed episode of The Slate ever. Why? Because it is the Friday before a long weekend, and not just any long weekend. It's 4th of July weekend. What?
How dare people are here to hear our excellent baseball insight, but more importantly, my takes on NBA free agency.
This is true, but they're not going to be coming in droves tonight. Just guessing. I'm just guessing. I mean, I would be happy to be wrong. I'd be happy to be wrong. I'm just making an assumption for it being July 1st. It's a Friday. 4th of July weekend is on the way. Traffic is a nightmare no matter where you are. Here, there, everywhere.
Traffic in my bedroom, solid so far today.
Wow. I'm very happy for you. That's great to hear. And by judging by the slate tonight, there might be a lot of traffic on the base paths too. Let's talk about a little Major League Baseball. 10-game slate starting after 7 o'clock. Good chunk of games happening in the 6 o'clock hour as the show wraps up. Some of those games will be kicking off there. We can get a couple thoughts into those games too as well. And then I know you want to close with some NBA talks. This is day 2 of free agency. A flurry of moves happened over the past 12 hours or so. 24 hours or so. It's been now. So
it hasn't even been open for 24 hours yet, but there have been just bombshell after bombshell. It truly is almost getting to the point where the NBA offseason is more exciting than the NBA regular season.
Than the actual product.
Yeah.
This is the product right here, the offseason moves. So we'll get into that later in the show as well, but let's talk about tonight's 10-game slate, starting with the 7:05 and beyond games. Some good dosing, a good amount of pitching on this slate tonight. Garrett Cole, Corbin Burnes, Tony Gonsolin, who, by the way, if you haven't put at least a sprinkle on him to win the Cy Young, I don't know what you're waiting for. 20-1 to win the Cy Young right now. Crazy. Hasn't allowed more than 2 runs in any start this season. Probably going to be, pretty good number. 20-1. That's asinine. Some of the guys are in front of him. I'm like, are we sure about that? Are we sure that this guy's been pitching better than Gonsolin? No one has been better than Gonsolin thus far. You know, he just doesn't have the flashy strikeout numbers. That's really what I think it comes down to. He strikes out less than a batter an inning. But when you're giving up next to nothing, and Alcantara continues to pitch out of his mind, you're going to get a good number on someone like Gonsolin. So you got Gonsolin, you got Javier and Joe Ryan, top 5 most expensive guys on the slate. Also worth noting, Chris Bassett has been scratched from tonight's start, was put on the COVID list earlier this afternoon. So now David Peterson, who has pitched pretty well, actually, by the way, steps in. He has been solid. Tough matchup tonight, though, against the Rangers. Rangers are good against lefties. But he will be pitching for the Mets tonight. So just be worth of that. So where are we starting with the pitching tonight? Obviously, Garrett Cole is in a great spot against the Guardians, but very expensive. Corbin Burnes
spot against the Guardians. We fight about this all the time. The Guardians have the lowest strikeout rate in the league. That makes them a bad matchup.
But do you think Garrett Cole is going to struggle?
I don't think he's going to struggle, but if he pitches 7 innings and only has 5 strikeouts, or even let's give him 7 strikeouts, let's give him 1 per inning. I don't love that. I don't love that when I've got Corbin Burnes in the God spot against the Pirates.
Well, here's why I will push back on you, because I knew you were going to say this. Cole just faced a Houston team that is also very tough to strike out. Came away with 8 in that game, 26.2 DraftKings fantasy points. I wouldn't be upset about that if I got that there tonight. Through 7 innings, 1 run, 4 hits. Really, aside that bad start he had against the Twins earlier in the month, he's been basically untouchable. He's given up 2 total runs in the other innings.
I'm not going to argue that point. He's a great pitcher.
Except when it comes to the playoffs.
17.4% strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers. They're 2.5 points better than the next best team at avoiding strikeouts. Houston, by comparison, they're 24th. They're at 20.7% against right-handers. So, I would argue that this is a worse matchup.
That's fair. So are you staying away from Cole completely and going to Burnes? Shifting all that to Burnes?
Yes. I'm loading up on Corbin Burnes. I mean, Corbin Burnes, you want to talk about a guy who's had good results recently. His game log has been excellent. And this matchup against the Pirates is one of the best you could ask for. They're 4th in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. and they are 24th in WRC plus. You look at the Vegas data. Vegas gives Burns an edge, 3.2 opponent implied team total, 3.5 for Cole. So for me, getting Burns at a slightly cheaper price tag, I understand he's going to be the more popular of the two players, but I think that he is the clear superior choice.
I mean, I don't disagree with that too. And, Burns kind of stumbled a little bit, I think, through the first month and a half of the season, but he seems to have gotten back on track. Even when he was stumbling at times, the strikeout numbers were still there. I mean, look at that start against the Padres in the beginning of June. Only went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 5 runs on 8 hits, still struck out 6 before he left. So he was able to, salvage, I guess, whatever. I only 4.3 DraftKings fantasy points. So obviously that's not what you're looking for, but for him to come out of in positive fantasy points, giving up that much production through 3 2/3 innings is quite impressive. Since that start, he's been, like you'd expect, Corbin Burns, 6 total runs in the next 4 starts, striking out at least 8 in all of them. Now he faces the Pirates team, which you just gave out the numbers there, who are one of the most strikeout prone teams in the league. There's that. Then you have Gonsolin, Javier, and Joe Ryan. The guy I'm hung up on the most is Javier for a couple of things. A, he's facing the team that has now taken over the league in K rate against righties in the Angels.
Yep.
And we can thank the putrid month of June for that during that horrific losing streak that they went on. But they ended up in the month of June overall with almost a 28% K rate on the year. On the month. That's just absolutely absurd. This is actually the 3rd time that Javier has faced the Angels, but his first time as a starter. If you remember, he was coming out of the bullpen the first couple of weeks of the season. Both of those games came against the Angels. So this is his first quote unquote start against them. But he has let up next to nothing against that team in those first 2 appearances. I think he struck out 8 through about 6 total innings that he faced him. But I look at him now, and the issue with him, and this is what I get hung up on, the strikeout numbers are phenomenal. He throws way too many pitches. He's out of there before usually the 6th inning. You start going through his game log, he is out early, constantly. Now he's 9,200. The matchup is great, but how deep do I expect him to go? Like, there are times where he's pitching well, but he's thrown so many pitches, he's not even eligible for the win because he's gone so early. So it's tough because I really, really want to use him, but I'm worried about how deep he can go. And with some of the other guys on the slate tonight, I've been flip-flopping on this probably all afternoon.
Yeah, so I think it's a great spot in a vacuum for Javier. He just struck out 13 against the Yankees. He can get to double digits against the Angels. I don't have a concern with that. I just think he is going to be, I have him projected right now for just behind Burns in terms of ownership. And I'm much more willing to pivot away from Javier than I am from Corbin Burns. You take that 45.2 DraftKings points out of the equation. There's a lot of mediocre results in that game log. There are some other strong performances too, but I think I'm more willing to pivot off of him to a guy like Tony Gonsolin, who I have projected for like less than 10% ownership tonight.
Crazy.
It's a tougher matchup for sure, a significantly tougher matchup, but as you alluded to, Tony Gonsolin has just been so disrespected all year by Vegas DFS players. The guy's a stud, at least for the time being. So I would rather take a shot with a guy like Gonsolin at sub 10% ownership than play Javier at 30 plus.
And the other thing we can't forget either is that he's facing the Padres, which are a very good team. The Padres are a little walking wounded right now. I don't know if there's the lineup isn't out yet. I know Machado is close to returning. I don't know if today is actually the day that he's returning, but if you look at that lineup right now, it's not all that intimidating, right? When you got like Hosmer hitting 5th, you got Nomar Mazauer in the mix there. Like, they're definitely kind of throwing out their B squad as of late. They're still winning games, don't get me wrong, but when I look at how good Gonsolin has been, and then this potential lineup that he's facing tonight without Machado, and then obviously without
Machado was back yesterday, so I would bet that he's back in the lineup again tonight.
So I thought that I heard that they were going to ease him in, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was off today, coming back yesterday. But so that I misspoke when I was saying that, but it's definitely not as strong as a lineup as it can be. So I look at Gonsolin, I look at how good he's been, and he's faced some really good teams too. Just came faced the Braves not too long ago. He's faced the Phillies. He's faced the Giants, the Braves twice there. The Mets. I didn't want to disrespect you on the show, but he's been stellar. So 10,300 though for somebody that doesn't strike out a lot though. That's the big thing on Gonsolin here. I think that's where a lot of the disrespect comes, is that he doesn't strike out many batters. He's thrown 74 total innings, 69 strikeouts, less than a strikeout per inning at this point. So, do you want to pay 5 digits for him against his Padres team?
Yeah, I mean, I do when you factor in the ownership, right? Sure. If we're giving him, I think he has a greater than 10% chance of being the highest scoring pitcher today, or, at least coming close to that mark behind Corbin Burns. So that to me makes him a good GPP play. Like if I was just looking at the pitchers I expect to be the highest scoring, he would not beat out some of the guys who are priced in the same area. But, baseball DFS, really mostly all DFS is going to be around ownership. You want to be, overweight on players that the field is overlooking. I'm not exactly breaking any news there, but I do think it's worth reiterating from time to time.
Where do you think some of the value is at starting pitcher tonight? Because I'm really struggling to find that there. This is a very, very top heavy slate when it comes to looking at these guys that you want to use tonight. Do you think that there's any real value here tonight?
I think Brad Keller is going to be a popular option. He's 5,700, which is like essentially free. And he's taking on the Tigers, who are an abominable offense. Keller is not a good pitcher, particularly from a strikeout perspective. He's averaging less than 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's got a 4.23 xERA. That's passable, right? Yeah. So you consider this matchup against an offense that's as bad as the Tigers are. I think Keller figures to be sort of the popular option for people that are looking to save money at SP2.
Yeah, I look at this here, like there's a couple names that I was, maybe thinking of. Michael Lorenzen is someone that I was kind of toying around with a little bit here. And it's mainly because of how beat up the Astros lineup is, right? They just lost Brantley recently. Jordan is out tonight. Jeremy Pena, I don't believe is in the lineup tonight either, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that real quick. But let's see. He is back in the lineup tonight, but there's still no Jordan, still no Michael Brantley. You look at this lineup here, they got Bregman hitting cleanup, and then it really gets brutal actually, I'll pull it up here on the screen. It gets really brutal really after the cleanup spot there. So if we take a look, let me just find the game here. All right, here you go. That is not the Astros lineup that you would expect. And you kind of take the numbers that you're accustomed to throughout the year. They tough to strike out, really a powerful team. You lost a lot of it when you lost Brantley and you lost Alvarez. So now you got a team that Bregman hasn't been great this year. Tucker's not bad. Pena doesn't have too much pop, but this is a very beatable lineup. So while I wouldn't be playing someone like Lorenzen on a normal basis, in this scenario against his Astros lineup, you probably could get me to do that there. And that's something I think I still might end up doing.
I like that call. I don't know if I would necessarily like this Astros lineup. That top 5 is still pretty darn good.
Sure.
I know Gurriel hasn't had a great year, but there's still a pretty decent offense. The back half certainly beatable, but yes, I think 7,100 is a pretty good price tag for him, and you won't have nearly the same ownership concerns as some of the other popular guys. Same goes for Marco Gonzalez. He has kind of been pretty good recently. He's been given the Mariners some solid length. He's gone at least 6 innings in 5 of his last 6 starts. And now he takes on Oakland. The last time he faced Oakland, he went 7 innings. He allowed 2 earned runs, only 2 strikeouts, which is not ideal, but he was still able to pay off a $7,100 salary in this matchup. He's 7,400 today. I think Marco Gonzalez is another cheap player that you can consider for your teams.
All right, let's talk about some of the hitting options tonight. If there's not a lot of pitchers that we're thrilled about using, that usually means that there's a lot of hitting options that we can go to here. I think I start with a stack tonight with the Mets going up against Glenn Otto, who has just been brutal so far this season. This Mets offense has been raking, as we all know, pretty much full strength here, as we're seeing as well. I think this is a great stack that you can start with. I don't even think you really need to get too cute here. I would have no issue going 1 through 5 here, starting with Nimmo, ending with Jeff McNeil. But Otto has been someone that you can pick on really all season long. His numbers are just putrid, as you can see here too as well. So I have no issues going against Otto here with the Mets. Any stack that you had off the top of your head that you were looking for?
I like the Mets. I think that's a good call. Most of the ownership today is going to be concentrated around Arizona and Colorado, right? They are playing at Coors Field, and for Coors Field teams, they are not all that expensive. Then for the people that aren't playing those two teams, I think they're going to be looking at the Twins going up against Spencer Watkins, who is a disaster. So I think those three teams are going to command the vast majority of the ownership from a stack perspective. So I like the Mets as a pivot off of that those chalky teams. And the Yankees are pretty good, Steve. I don't know if you're familiar with the New York Yankees, but they've been doing some good things offensively this season. They're taking on Aaron Savali. He's fine. He's got a 4.95 xERA, a 7.2 regular ERA. He's been better than that in the past. He had a 3.84 ERA last year. So I don't think he's like a dumpster fire of a pitcher. But this Yankees offense can go off against anyone. And Savali is certainly not somebody that is going to scare me off them. So they've been basically my favorite team to target all year when I don't think they're going to catch a ton of ownership. And tonight applies.
Yeah, no doubt too, especially with the pitching being so top heavy too as well. If you're paying for at least one of those guys, it's going to be extremely difficult to get you that Yankees team. Like, let's just even go and we'll throw Burns in there, right? And then if you try to jam in the top 5 Yankees hitters, let's see where you're at after. Let's put LeMahieu in the second spot. Okay, so we get down to Donaldson. $3,400 left. That's
a Mitch Keller team right there, baby.
What happens when we get Brad Keller?
Excuse me. There's
2,600. We
can make that work.
Oh yeah,
we can make that work for sure.
Yep. Who's the catcher tonight? Carson Kelly. He's in Coors Field. Perfect. There you go. 2,900. Shortstop and outfield. Make it happen. You can make it happen. Yep. You can do it. You can do it. It's gonna be ugly, but you can do it. So I'm with you there too. And just one quick note on Glenn Otto, because you mentioned Savali's xERA. Glenn Otto's is actually worse than his 5.31 ERA, if you even think that's possible. His xERA is at 6.51. What is this guy doing? How are you even worse? 5.31 ERA, like, oh, his xERA is going to be deep. No, it's like a 1.5 higher. Like, this guy sucks. Like, there's no other way to put it.
If you do need a cheap offensive piece today,
yes,
Nick Allen expected to hit leadoff for the Oakland A's. He's 2K flat min, expected to hit leadoff. He's been decent for the Athletics. He had 2 hits in his last game. He's got at least 1 hit in 6 straight contests. 1 hit is really all you need at 2K. So I will take, if you need a punt type player to throw into your lineups around an expensive stack or an expensive pitcher, which you probably will today because there are some expensive teams and there are some expensive pitchers. I think Nick Allen is kind of the go-to for me in that department.
A very, very, very small sample here, but because he's only been up for about 15 games, but even in the short span, 361 WOBA against lefties so far. So, I mean, that's really all you need to know right there. But again, at the bare minimum, you're not expecting much. You shouldn't be expecting much, but yeah, a hit and a run, you're golden. You're golden right there, right? But he's going, yeah, exactly. But he's going up against the Mariners, and the Mariners don't lose any games, so there is that issue there. They're making a run for the AOS. I don't know if you've noticed lately. Have you noticed?
I will say Carson Kelly. You pointed him out. Yeah. 2,100 catcher at Coors Field. And Carson Kelly can hit too. I know he hasn't had a great year, but the dude has raked in the past. He's going to be astronomically owned, I think.
Oh yeah.
But it's really hard to pass up a $2,100 catcher at Coors who can hit. Again, 129 average this year, as Steve is displaying on screen. But he was a 103 WRC plus guy last year. He had 13 homers in 98 games. I think he is much better than what these numbers are showing.
Yeah, 2019, he was close to 20 home runs with the Diamondbacks.
His big thing has always been health. He's just never been able to stay healthy.
Is he also the one that mashes lefties? Does he have good splits against lefties, or am I totally making that up? Just off the top of my head, that's what came to my mind.
Yes, last year he mashed lefties. He was 313 batting average, 164 WRC plus.
I knew there was something about it. There's just some guys like Jordan Luplow, like one of them. I know off the top of my head, he's a lefty guy. I thought that Carson Kelly. Yes, Stevenson. He's hurt too. I love him. I love Stevenson. I know he's been hurt lately. Yeah, career lefties. Carson Kelly, 269, 17 of his 37 home runs. Yeah, lefty smasher. Except, not recently.
Right. Doesn't help tonight against Antonio Senzatella, but Antonio Senzatella stinks. So
yeah.
He does have that going for him.
And then you're going into the Rockies bullpen, and then all bets are off after that point. Okay, so we talked about some pitching options, some stacking options. Is there any one-offs that you like for tonight? Or is there anybody that's kind of, I know you gave a couple of value plays that you can use for tonight, some of the bare minimum guys. Any one-offs that you're maybe looking at on this slate?
If you're not stacking the Yankees, I like Judge. I think, again, most of the ownership is going to be condensed around the expensive hitters for the other top offenses today. I would expect Byron Buxton to have more ownership than Judge. So I will. I'll roll the dice with him. I know he's absurdly priced right now. He's like 6,400, I believe. Judge, that is. But
yeah,
I think he is just too good that anytime you can get him at reduced ownership, you should.
I just wanted to point this out because this surprised me the other day. He hit his 20th home run a couple days ago, Buxton.
It'd be great if the Twins let him play more than 3 times a week.
Well, that was the funny thing, because I'm like, I feel like he's missed half the season, and then they're like, oh, that was a 20th home run by Buxton. And I was like, what? When did he hit the rest? I was genuinely surprised that he's already at 20, because it feels like he's missed the entire season. But in the small time that he's played, 58 games, he's already hit 20 home runs. This guy is just,
he's insane. He's very good.
Insane. He's absolutely insane. And I wanted to say healthy so bad because holy crap. This was Tatis when he first came up. He barely played. He had all these home runs, all these runs knocked in, but it's he was always injured like he is now. It's if this guy can just stay healthy, he's going to put up insane numbers. Buxton has been such, I don't want to say he's been such a waste, but he's so, what's the right word that I'm looking for here? So
tantalizing is what he has been. He shows it and then he gets hurt.
Yep. And it's always something with him. It is always something. Okay, let's go over to the sportsbook side. Let's talk about some bets for tonight. I actually like a lot that's on the board tonight, so I have no issue taking some extra time on this one here. Real quick, I want to get your thoughts, if you have any, on this Marlins Nationals game. Now, this is not on the main slate. This one's starting in a few minutes here. But the 2 guys that are going tonight is what caught my attention. It's 2 guys that I feel like have swapped bodies. Josiah Gray has been pitching so incredibly well after being such a target the beginning of the year. And then Trevor Rogers has just been nothing but a punching bag for the rest of the league. This is somebody who last year were holy crap, this kid's got a massive amount of potential. Did you ever in your lifetime, you probably never thought about this, but I thought about it today, would see a game where Josiah Gray and Trevor Rogers are pitching? Josiah Gray is the favorite at -130 and Trevor Rogers is the +110 underdog. That just blew my mind, actually, when I saw that.
I have been on the Josiah Gray train. Even though his MLB results were terrible, it's important to remember that this guy was a super prospect.
Yeah.
Who was, the centerpiece of a trade that sent Max Scherzer and Trey Turner to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
That said, I do think his results of late have been a little bit fluky. You look at in June, he's got a 193 BABIP. That's not good. I mean, he's been striking out a ton of guys.
Yeah.
But his FIP is still sitting at 3.01. That's a good mark. It's a very good mark. But I don't think that we've gotten to the point where Josiah Gray is like an ace pitcher at this for the Nationals. So
no, that's a good call out.
I would probably take them at -130 in this matchup, especially since the Marlins don't have Jorge Soler. He was just placed on the IL. But and obviously they still don't have Jazz Chisholm. So I would lean Nationals -130, but I don't think it's a slam dunk.
One other game that's starting in about an hour or so, Braves, excuse me, and Reds going together tonight. I want to see what the team total. Okay, it is. It's back up to 6.5. I cannot think of the last time I saw a team total outside of Coors Field at 6.5. That is an absurd number. And it's been flip-flopping between 5.5 and 6.5. Obviously, the juice is on under 6.5 at this point at -140. So you might be able to get 5.5 before the lock here, but I can't recall seeing a 6.5 team total outside of Coors Field this year. Do you recall that being that high for anything else?
Maybe a Yankees-Orioles game, but that's the only thing that I think would really come close. I mean, Mike Minor has just been a disaster.
So bad. Like his xERA is 5.56. So, obviously he hasn't been as bad as it's showing here, but 7.71 ERA, 10 home runs allowed in 25 and 2/3 innings. Now you're facing arguably one of the top offenses in the league against lefties. The Braves, they're third in home runs, third in run scores against them. I like it. Would you take 6.5?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. It is too high too.
Depending on what the number was at 5.5, I might be interested. I mean, the Braves really they mash even without Freddie Freeman, which I gotta say this is one of the weirder baseball stories that I can remember. This whole Freddie Freeman contract saga. But I think the Braves are fine with how it played out. They all of a sudden Dansby Swanson is the best shortstop in the league. Austin Riley is good. That Acuna fella's not bad. So, I mean, the Braves, if I could make a bet on the Braves overtaking the Mets in the standings before the All-Star break, I would do it right now.
I mean, I don't hate that. And a month ago, we would have said no chance. No chance.
That's not true.
Oh, well, you're a Brave. You're a Mets.
I never counted the Braves out.
Let me say non-New Yorkers would say no chance.
Yeah, probably.
I did take the Braves at 5.5. I did take it at -130, and I was okay with that. I had no issue with that. I was just curious where it was. One other play I do really like tonight as well is I'm going down to the Padres-Dodgers game. This one was also a little bit juicy this morning, but I had no issue taking it. Was taking the Dodgers run line. Oh, it's actually a little bit better now. Dodgers run line half a run at -125 against the Padres tonight. We're talking about two guys who are on completely different planets when it comes to pitching at this point. Blake Snell, since coming back, has been nothing but shaky, putting a ton of traffic on the base pass. Don't want to do that against the Dodgers. And then Gonsolin has been doing the complete opposite, not putting anything on the base pass, not putting anybody on right now. I started to toy with the total being at 4, but I was like, it would not shock me if all those runs came off of Snell, right? Like if Snell came out here and had a bad start and then the Dodgers go 5 in the first 5, that would not shock me. So I was like, I'm going to, screw it. I'm just going to do the run line at -half run and -125. So I did take that. I do like that play a lot because I don't have much faith in Snell tonight against his Dodgers team.
Yeah, I always prefer targeting a right-handed pitcher with the Dodgers, but I think that's a fair line to take them.
What do you got for tonight? What bets are you looking at to take tonight?
As far as like a long shot that I like, I kind of like the Athletics. I talked about Marco Gonzalez being a pitcher that I liked in DFS. And I also think that the A's don't deserve to be +155. I think that's a little bit too much for them.
It's steep.
I know that the A's are not a good baseball team, right? They just have probably the worst offense in baseball, but +155 against the Mariners just seems unfair to me. So I've grabbed them. I think that's probably the price that I have the best feeling on.
Yeah.
Also the Angels at plus 140 against Javier. I think
Sure.
that again, the Angels kind of have entered this weird space where, you know, their offense has kind of plummeted, but they still have two of the best offensive players in the world in Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. They have some other guys who have had really good years like Taylor Ward. And I think Lorenzen is one of their better pitchers. So I think plus 140 is a pretty fair price tag for them when you factor in that the Astros are without Yordan Alvarez, who's probably the best offensive player on the planet right now.
I also do like taking over 9 runs between the Rangers and Mets tonight with Bassett out. I don't mind taking the over at 9 runs at this point. For as bad as the Rangers are in the standings, they are a very good offense, though, against lefties. And Peterson has been great. I want to take nothing away from him, but the Rangers have also been very good against lefties. So I have no issue taking that there because I'm expecting a complete S show from Mr. Glenn Otto. So I don't think there's going to be much difference for the Rangers to get off of Peterson to really kind of make up the difference there and get there. If we're coming into tonight, the Texas Rangers have a 117 WRC plus against lefties. That is the 6th best mark in the league. Their isolated power is almost one of the best in the league. It's at 192 against lefties so far this year. I think that's good for third. Yeah, good for third in the league. So over 9 runs for that game as well, with the news that Bassett is out. That's what I like there as well. Anything else you want to get to? I know you wanted to spend a few minutes on NBA. So is there anything else you want to get to before we switch over to that?
I think that's it. Good luck to everybody out there on the betting and the DFS side of baseball tonight.
All right. So the floor is yours for the NBA talk here. Obviously, a lot has gone down over the past 18 hours, we'll call it at this point. What's been the most, I'll just let you go. You start. You start where you want to start.
So my favorite move so far, the Atlanta Hawks trading for DeJounte Murray. I love DeJounte Murray. He is in the prime of his career. He's got 2 years left on his contract, made the All-Star game last year, averaged roughly like 28 and 9. And I just think him and Trey are such a perfect fit together. The biggest flaw in Trey Young's game is that he's a bad defender, right? He is a bad defender, and DeJounte Murray, one of the best defensive guards in the league. So now he can take the opponent's best, perimeter scorer and try to lock him up most nights. The biggest flaw in DeJounte's game, he's not a knockdown 3-point shooter. Now he's got Trey Young to handle those responsibilities. I think it's a perfect fit. Least favorite move so far, it was the Knicks signing Jalen Brunson for more than $25 million per season over 4 years. Just an absurdly bad contract. But I think that this Rudy Gobert move for the Timberwolves has taken the crown. Oh. They gave up essentially 5 first-round picks for Mr. Gobert. Their first-round pick from this previous draft that just completed, 3 unprotected first-round picks, and then a top 5 protected first-round pick in 2029. As the Nets will tell you, you have no idea where you're going to be in 3 years in the current NBA. All their picks that they doled out with no protections on them because they thought they were going to be contending for titles for years with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they look incredibly juicy now for the Houston Rockets to have. So I think it's a terrible move. I don't get the fit at all. One of the best things about the Timberwolves last year was Karl Anthony Towns is a matchup nightmare at center, right? He can pull guys away from the rim on offense and knock down shots better than any big man basically in the history of the league. Now you're playing him at power forward, I guess. And it's just such a weirder fit. Don't like that move for them at all. I think it's kind of like a lateral step for them. I don't see a huge upgrade. So the big domino now is, where does Kevin Durant go, right? Because we're looking at the NBA futures leaderboard right now. The Celtics have become the favorites after getting Malcolm Brogdon for absolutely nothing. But once Kevin Durant lands one place or the other or another, particularly Phoenix, if he does end up in Phoenix, they are going to leapfrog the Nets. I would bet that they get down to plus 300, maybe even plus 250 if they are able to get Kevin Durant, especially if they don't have to give up Mikal Bridges to do it. So that's really like the big piece that is still yet to fall, in my opinion. I guess DeAndre Ayton hasn't signed, like, does anybody really care about that? So that's the thing to monitor. I think if you're looking to take shots in the futures market, the Suns are my bet to land Durant. They are the favorites to do so at the moment. They can offer DeAndre Ayton to Brooklyn. And as I just mentioned, the Nets have no draft picks. So they are not in a situation where they can trade these guys and just bottom out. They are screwed. They have to try and contend with whatever they get back in these trades. So at least by getting Ayton, you can sell the story of we got a, potential superstar young big man in exchange for Kevin Durant. So I think that's the trade that ultimately gets done. So I think the Suns are your betting value at the moment. I think that once that deal becomes official, should it happen, their odds will be at least cut in half.
And you have plenty of opportunity to hedge out of that too as well. If he doesn't end up going with the Suns, you have an ample opportunity to hedge that out elsewhere too as well. If he does land with the Suns, and you mentioned that he will obviously leapfrog, and the Celtics are the favorites right now. If he doesn't go to the Suns, where do you think the second best possibility is to go from there? And is that team worth a shot at that moment right now?
So the Heat are the other team that are rumored to be front runners. They are slightly behind the Suns in terms of odds at the moment, but Pat Riley, we know he has a history of getting his man, right? He always seems to be able to lure these guys to South Beach. The problem is they don't have nearly as appealing a package to offer, right? They can give him Tyler Hero, but they're not going to trade Jimmy Butler. They're not the Nets really will have no interest in Kyle Lowry. And the most interesting guy would be Bam Adebayo, but there's this weird contract stipulation that says that the Nets basically can't have Ben Simmons and Bam Adebayo on their roster at the same time. It's fascinating. You can look it up online. I don't really understand it all, but that's one of the things. They can't do it. They can't have Ben Simmons and Bam Adebayo on their roster at the same time. So I don't know how the Heat get that done without Adebayo being included. Tyler Hero plus what? I don't think there's enough there to make it happen.
All right, so there you have it. Matt Lamarca dropping some NBA knowledge on you there as well. You can take a look at those future odds, of course, on DraftKings Sportsbook. That is going to wrap it up for this edition of the Slate. Did anybody get me the next Madden game? No, they didn't. So you know what? You can even go and get it now. I'm not going to say it. Nope, they just gave it to me. I'm not giving it. You find out yourselves. I'm not doing it, okay? Should have told me earlier in the show. Good luck with your bets. Good luck with your lineups. You will not be here next week, correct? You are off
I will
next
not.
week.
I will not. I will be at Citi Field.
There. Nice. That's some good stuff right there, baby. All right. So I will be here next week with a mystery guest, or maybe just won't even do the show. We'll figure it out next week. It's not important right now. 4th of July weekend, long weekend. We'll get there when we get there. Peace.
Happy 4th, everybody.